Dear Diary, in politics as in life, it is important to know who you can rely on. There are many demands of the President of Swordland, and I fear I won't be able to satisfy them all. Those in my cabinet I can trust to support my vision, my inner circle if you will, are Petra, my old friend, Lucian, mind so sharp he cuts himself on it, Ciara the Crusader, and Nia, whose sense of justice remains unparalleled. Simon I deem reliable, but our ideals are far apart. Josef hates me ever since our time in the military. Gus has too many backroom connections with the capitalist elites. David will do his duty, yet looms too tall, and Pascal, who claims to be the voice of poverty, seems awfully keen to push more of our basic services into the tentacles of investors. Lilias, who keeps Seoul dear in her heart, I must be cautious about if we are to align our country east and begin down the path of a peaceful socialist revolution. I've tried to take my mind off it, but I cannot avoid the scheduled meeting with Alfonso, the kleptocrat, to resolve the Gassom situation. If it was up to me, we'd nationalize this company as soon as I came into office. But fortunately, before I have to talk to Alfonso, we've got a few reports to read. Let's have a look at the economic stability. Still not looking great. We were better already, but overall, halfway through with the railway, and I think 1/3 through with the diplomatic missions. So hopefully once that is completed, we are going to start seeing some benefits of it. Let's have a look what's going on in Lauren. Actually, before we do that, I do think it's paying to look at the economic situation a bit more. So England, Lux Investment, Bergia, terrible. Trade volume bad. Lauren is our rust belt. And rusting it is. So services are missing. Lack of investment as usual. So let's see what's going on in... great. The Morbel mine disaster. A coal mine has collapsed in Morbel. Emergency response teams were dispatched immediately. Due to the sheer size of the disaster, additional manpower and supplies were requested from nearby cities. Initial investigations show that an underground fire has started due to the neglect in working situations by the Nedam Mining Group. Current death toll is at 82 and counting. It's a state-owned mining corporation to boot, so I can't even blame it on the capitalists. It's one of the two state-owned enterprises among the big four. It primarily operates in Lauren Bergia, but also has limited operations in Velen and Lesbia Agnolia. Corporation was formed ages ago, started as a small family gold mining enterprise, quickly rose to a large operation due to the resource needs of industrialization. Nationalized by President Sol under the National Autarky Plan. Its largest extracted resources are coal, gold, and diamonds, which generate high profit margins for the Swedish state. Yes, these things are generally quite useful. The problem, obviously, is that we appear to have issues with them. Well, I'm putting it down to corruption, because why else would they neglect working situation? I mean, it could be institutionalized incompetence, but most likely somebody was trying to save money and funnel it into their own pockets. So heads need to roll in a metaphorical sense, not in a literal. But ideally, we would investigate this company, make arrests, and then make some changes to management, because this is a state-owned company. There's no excuse not to do it. So hopefully something will come out of that. We have plenty of reports in Holsword. The repeal of the Energy Protection Act fails. So the Energy Protection Act was the one that was preventing foreign companies in making large investments in or taking over large parts of Swordland's energy production and infrastructure. And that was supposed to be repealed. I think that was one of Richter's. The proposed repeal of the EPA of 1932 was put to a vote in the Assembly today, resulting in its defeat, despite strong advocacy from the reformer factions of PFJP and beyond, including within the USP under Clavin. Yeah, I know. The majority of the Assembly, led by USP and NFP, voted against the repeal, 179 to 71. Okay, let's have a quick look at the current legislative. So we got 130 But we do have a reform faction inside. So 179 against, that means, well, it's obviously not the total of the USP. It's probably the total of the NFP. But let's see, we got 100 out of the USP, and 30 of them are reformers, just to put a number down. That means we would be at 140. Let's say we get the independence, that's 150, but we're still 30 short. So half the PFJP would have to vote against the proposal. That is very surprising, unless the reform faction inside the USP is significantly smaller than I initially knew, because we don't actually have these kind of insights. But unless it is significantly smaller, but even if there wasn't any, we would still have to have the full USP, the NFP, and almost all of the independents to vote against it. So interestingly, how much of that this is a slap in the face for Richter and his globalist plans for sure, and Clavin obviously as well. Consequently, the EPA remains in force, maintaining the status quo of foreign ownership restriction on energy companies in Swordland. This concludes the current attempt to modify the foreign ownership regulation, but does not preclude further legislative efforts or any initiative by the executive. Hint, hint. My plan for energy still stands. Ideally, I would like to nationalize energy production, simply because it is a control. It is a question of autarky, and I find myself actually agreeing with Sol on that one, that it is essential for the economic development of our country to have government control over the production of energy and not to be at the mercy of international markets and of corrupt companies selling, preferring to sell energy at high prices to Rumburg rather than to supply Swordland's own businesses. What else do we got? What does the NFP got to say on reforms? Well, they're probably not going to like it. Kiebener, leader of the NFP, has announced today that the NFP is completely against any threshold reform. Oh, that one. He specifically emphasized that this would lead to unwanted elements entering the assembly and that he is outright against any changes to the 10% threshold. I have a bit of an idea what unwanted elements he means, because I think it's the... for sure, it's one of the bluish ones that's excluded, but there were a few left-leaning parties that he would most certainly like not to see in the assembly, and Kiebener can put that in a pipe and smoke it. All right. The workers' rights bill nears completion. I think we just had an event that significantly emphasized the needs for these kind of things. The Workers' Rights Act of 1954, proposed by Clavin and supported by Minister of Health Benny Wall. Yeah, Pascal is very chummy with Mr. Clavin. Is being prepared for the first draft review. Voices from the labor union showed strong signs of support. Interesting. A session dedicated to the bill in the assembly proved contentious. The people that form the backbone of the Swedish economy will finally be fully protected by extensive laws, Horton said, receiving both cheers and boos. She means the workers. So why is it contentious then? If the labor union, Katarina Horton was from the labor union, wasn't she? She's the labor leader. So why was it contentious then? Apparently there seems to be some disagreements about it. Look, I'm not opposed to a bill just because of who proposes it, right? Everyone, no matter their political alignment, can come up and propose legislation. As long as it's a good legislation, I really don't mind whose name is on it. But apparently even the labor union itself doesn't a session in the assembly. Okay, so that was inside the assembly. Right. So, okay, that's what it means. So it is supported by the labor union. Sorry, I read that wrong. It's supported by the labor union, but in the assembly, it is contentious, which makes sense because obviously the NFP would be against it, and probably the conservative wing of my own party would be against it as well. Okay, so interesting stuff coming up in the future. We have a report from Estord. A young swords member found decapitated. Okay, this is getting a little dark, my friends. The Estord Police Department has found a decapitated body in an abandoned house where the victim was later identified as Kulg Leinke, a high school teacher and member of the local Young Swords Cultural Center. The victim was discovered to be tortured with hot iron rods before his tongue was cut off. Somebody went literally and metaphorically medieval on him. Police suspect the Red Youth are responsible for the incident. The incident has not been made public. Good grief. There is no excuse for any of these for any of these kind of behaviors. Not from the Young Swords, and most certainly not from the Red Youth either. There were some hints in the comments that mentioned that the Young Swords are more of an extremist organization, and the Red Youth, it was somewhat understandable if they would fight back. This isn't fighting back. This is murder. This is torture. This is a heinous crime, and the people who conducted this need to be found, arrested, and I think both youth organizations need to step up their game and distance themselves from these actions and make sure that they cooperate with law enforcement to ensure that none of these that the people who are behind these are getting caught. One of Lilius's problems, from whom I have not heard an awful lot. We've got some other things going on. We've got news from the where did it go? Here we go. News from the Kontanan Security Pact. CSP leaders discuss Helgeland at Helm Summit. Helgeland is the contested island between Valksland and Agnolia. And let's obviously, given Valksland part of the CSP, there's probably going to be CSP support behind them. Let's see what they've got to say. At a pivotal meeting in Helm, CSP leaders gathered to address the intricate and historically charged issue of Helgeland's sovereignty. The discussions revisited the Agnolian annexation of the island during Valksland Revolution in the 20s, emphasizing the Alliance's commitment to addressing historical missteps and securing a future that respects the right and aspirations of the island's inhabitants. See, this is the sort of foreign politics that I like. Instead of just saying, oh no, we historically had control over this and here's the 500-year-old document to prove it, we're saying, look, this happened recently, but let's consider it a misstep and make sure that we ask the people there actually where they want to be or what they want. The summit also highlighted the CSP's strategic ability to navigate an increasingly complex geopolitical environment shaped by the growing influence of the ATO. Obviously, the ATO would probably be backing Agnolia here. Leaders stressed the critical importance of dialogue and cooperation to prevent further escalation in the delicate situation surrounding Helgeland. Additionally, the CSP confirmed that contingency plans are in place, ensuring that Valksland, as a key member of the alliance, would receive full support should the circumstances require it. In plain English, that means we are going to look. Of course, this is the press statement, right? Under the hood, it is of course entirely possible that the rights and that the aspirations of the island's inhabitants are being looked at through a certain lens, whereby you would ignore those that are politically not pleasant for the respective sides of it. And this is obviously the either you roll with that, or we're going to militarily, first diplomatically, but potentially militarily support Valksland in retaking that island. The meeting concluded with a collective affirmation of the CSP's determination to uphold peace and stability, which again, Leaders emphasized their intention to approach the Helgeland issue with a diplomatic but firm stance, addressing its historical complexities while applying necessary pressure to achieve a resolution that aligns with the Alliance's principles. So in short, during the Valkslandian Revolution, Valksland went through got to socialism the hard way. So they went through a revolution, full-on communist dictatorship, misunderstanding dictatorship of the proletariat idea as a literal form of government, and then eventually mellowed down into the more open sort of Volkslandian socialism that we're seeing today. But during the times, Agnolia took the opportunity to take that island. Now, I don't know what the historical background is of the island. Actually, let's ask the Codex and see if there's anything. Do we have anything on this? Let's have a look at the Helgoland invasion. This is an important thing to know. I mean, obviously we want to back Volksland against it, but Agnolia is also our direct neighbor. We're currently in a diplomatic mission, and they're already going to be annoyed at us for not giving them what they promised to do domestically. So the military operation to reclaim Helgoland took place during the collapse of the Valgus Empire. In 1920, amid the revolutionary upheaval, Agnolian Prime Minister Blueberg ordered the move to secure the strategically significant island positioned over a major strait linking the Valgus Channel to the wider Marcian Sea. The island had originally been part of the Kingdom of Agnolia before it was ceded to the Valgus Empire under heavy diplomatic and naval military pressure during the era of Valgus expansion. So historically, Agnolia this was part of Agnolia historically. Then an imperial expansion had taken it from them. A transfer widely regarded in Agnolia as coerced rather than voluntary, and a grievance that successive governments never formally abandoned. So there is some historical precedent. The operation was officially justified on grounds of protecting ethnic Agnolians residing on the island, and was presented as the restoration of historically Agnolian territory, though it also reflected a strategic calculation to secure the strait before other regional powers could intervene. When the authority collapsed, power vacuum emerged. Agnolia moved swiftly, and the newly established revolutionary government of Valksland prioritized domestic consolidation and did not mount an immediate effort to retake it. During the War of Broken Wills, Helgoland did not become a battlefield, but functioned as a fortified naval hub, supporting patrol deployment, ship repair, supply operations, and force rotations. Romborg developed plans to invade the island. I think, just from the name, we can kind of get a bit of an idea of what the historical template was for Romborg. But I think it'd be probably easier at this point to enumerate the territories that Romborg has not at any point threatened to invade or actually invaded. These were abandoned following naval defeats off the coast of Odrejk. Control of Helgoland enables Agnolia to influence or restrict traffic through the Marcian Sea Strait, granting substantial leverage over maritime routes connecting to Stalport and broader Mercopa. For many Agnolians, the 1920 reclamation represents a defining national achievement and a lasting symbol of restored sovereignty. Okay. None of this answers the question of what the people in the island have to say, but so we've got the historical claim from Agnolia. Then that territory was initially, ceded under pressure because of the positioning, right? Because we are Agnolia and Swordland need the strait, and that island is a strategic position to control the strait, which is an important trade position. I think, honestly, don't have no idea how much influence we're going to have on this, but this sounds almost like this is so important that this should become sort of a demilitarized zone or neutral territory of some form, and military installations should be removed to ensure that nobody has necessarily control over the whole thing. The problem still remains, obviously, for Agnolia, because if they can't get out through the strait, their foreign trade is controlled by Valksland, because they basically control the sea routes. And they have historically had grievances with Valksland. And Rumborg wants it as well. So everybody wants this island, and that is not going to be an easy decision if we have any involvement in that. So CSP is ramping up the pressure now to return that island to Valksland, which would give them leverage over Agnolia and ourselves potentially, which for ourselves is not so much of an issue because I'm planning to align ourselves with the CSP, but for Agnolia, which I think, are they actually? Are they actually? No, they're not. They're not aligned with the ATO just yet. But that sort of pressure would obviously drive Agnolia into the arms of the ATO, and that would be, become a friction point right at the border between two global superpowers. That'll include us for some way. Let's see what and YouTube. No, I am. This is very significantly pronounced with AP. Let's see what the Lesbians are up to. The people of Lesbia. President Walker visited Lesbia last week to engage in talks with Prime Minister Alvarez. Walker is from the ATO, isn't it? From Arcasia, yeah. Dwight Walker. Concerning the establishment of Arcasian military bases within Lesbia, following the conclusions of the discussions, an agreement was reached between the two leaders regarding a significant military defense investment. As part of the agreement, a large military base will be constructed on Ravnos Island. The base will be equipped with Arcasian radar and anti-air systems for enhanced security. Additionally, Arcasia plans to deploy a dozen M3 ballistic missiles. The base is expected to accommodate approximately 200 strategic bombers and jet fighters, along with an estimated 20,000 Arcasian soldiers. Okay, so Arcasia is making major moves to start threatening military threatening the Continental Security Pact. So they're building up here. They're building up effectively a significant forward military base within direct striking range of Valksland and potentially other. I don't know where the rest of the Continental Security Pact is geographically, but certainly within direct striking range of Valksland, with a large bomber fighter force and a missile force, as well as air defenses, potentially nuclear. And I think that is that is going to have to get a response from the CSP in terms of countering this threat, because obviously Agnolia, I don't even know where they are. They're nowhere near on the map. Of course, building forward, not Agnolia, Arcasia, building forward military bases in faraway countries where they're threatening your enemy, but your enemy can't threaten you back. Yep, we know we know that sort of methodology, don't we? So that is also actually a problem for us, because with Lesbia going basically joining militarily with Arcasia and hosting this kind of power projection, that means that is not just a direct threat to Valksland, that is a direct threat to Zordland as well. Because, first it's a shipping threat, again. For Agnolia, not so much of an issue, but for us, because we also need to get through here. This might be a northern route that could be available. I don't know how frozen that gets in winter. Port Grim sounds like it's kind of cold here, and Port Norki as well. Sounds all very geographically icy, the whole thing. It also looks distinctly fjord-like over here. So I'm assuming that this particular route is A, long, and B, not necessarily viable constantly. So that means the strait here is becoming an essential trade route for Agnolia, Swordland, and control over the strait is becoming contested with military bases in various islands in the region that are causing us grief. Okay, so much for geopolitics. Much more interesting than meeting with Alfonso. But we still got some news to read. Let's see what the Holsworth Post has to say. Grand National Assembly has demonstrated resounding commitment to Swordland's economic independence, and I agree with that. The proposed repeal of the EPA, a cornerstone of our national autonomy, was effectively defeated. The stalwart defense of our sovereignty by Gloria Tori and Kesaro Kibuner is commendable. It's funny how that goes, because Gloria Tori is a strict conservative and Kibuner is obviously a raging nationalist. But in this instance, I actually agree with him. So we have the same idea, just for different reasons. Because obviously they want they want more power, more money for themselves and their business partners, whereas I want more power and more money to the workers and the people of Swordland. And energy autarky is at the basis of industry. Now, I've got 2 more reports before I can no longer put it off and have to go and talk to Gus and Alfonso on Gazprom. But let's see first what the current situation is. So there are strikes, obviously. Blue-collar workers at Gazprom in Narbel have initiated a labor strike. This industrial action follows disagreements over wages, working conditions, and workers' rights. The strike has resulted in a temporary disruption to Gazprom's operations. The duration of the strike and the potential impact on Narbel's local economy are currently uncertain. Negotiations between Gazprom management and the striking workers are reportedly ongoing. All right, so a general problem that we're having, let's have a quick look at Narbel. Protests, but currently nothing from the actual strikes. This region is really in deep trouble. Okay, so we're producing gas, we're having gas production in the backwaters in Nargis. And just like in the Rust Belt, where we just seen people paying the ultimate price for management incompetence and or corruption, Gazprom is not doing things particularly well over here. Although if I would listen to Mr. Bennywall, we should just privatize more things, and because that's been going so well. This didn't work, so let's compensate by scaling it out and doing it more often. Okay, so we have strikes and we've got ongoing negotiations. The Communist Party of Swordland and Labor Union of Swordland have organized a strike against Gazprom. Prominent figures Horton of LUS and Dennis Stahler of CPS. Actually, he might be an interesting person. He is the current leader of the Communist Party of Swordland, who we could get into the government by lowering the rate. He is regarded as a millennialist, but he was actually arguing that millennialism was distorting the real ideas of Marxian socioeconomics. He also heavily protested against the United Continental Navy's presence in Eastern Maricopa. He joined the PFJP as a social democrat, but he was denied top positions due to his communist views and couldn't get elected. And then he co-founded the CPS with others. He wrote the manifesto titled Swordish Socialism. I would love to read that, which caused a split within the party between the followers of Stahler's Swordish socialists and the millennialists. He invited the famous poet Circus to join the party, but was rejected. And in 53 elections, he got just below 8% of the general vote, failing to pass the election threshold. He doubled his efforts to increase his party's reach by opening new offices in every major city. So that would be a potential, it could be a potential ally in the legislative if we could get him in, if we were lowered. I can think the threshold is 10% right now. So if we were to lower the threshold, we could get smaller parties in. And that is exactly what the NFP doesn't want, because right now they're using the threshold to keep the communists out. Although, of course, you could argue that if the communists manage to get across 10%, they'll be in as well. So it's not a complete political blockade. Right. So what do we know? We know that Alfonso is no longer the CEO, but I think he is the chairman of the board of directors, and obviously still extremely involved. We know that Alfonso is very corrupt. We know that from our secretary and from gossiping. But we probably could have guessed as much, that corruption under Alfonso was so prevalent that people would literally carry cash into the president's office. And very openly, because the secretaries all knew this. This wasn't a secret. This was done out in the open. So the blatant corruption that happened under Alfonso, as well as the privatization, and I'm making air quotes here, which you cannot see, that has basically just benefited his capitalist cronies in stealing state property and pillaging from the workers. Yeah, has brought us to where we are today. So, given the fact that I've been openly criticizing him during my election campaign, I'm not entirely certain how happy he's going to, or how willing he's going to be to get to listen to me when it comes to involvement in the in the labor discussion. So just to put up my mindset, how I want to go into this discussion, I don't trust Gus one bit. And that means I am going to not give in to Alfonso. But I did say last episode, Anton needs to put his views out there a bit more and harden his position here and say, look, nice energy company you have there. Would be a shame if somebody nationalized it. Not that directly, but effectively saying, look, this is new times here, new administration. We're not doing this anymore. And we're going to be putting down some workers' rights. You can keep your company for now until we... But I alter the deal and pray that I do not alter it further. So you better get on board with the proper labor laws, with proper payments, with proper investments into regional infrastructure and everything else. But you cannot just go and skim off the riches. That is not flying. So I'm firmly... What I'm trying to say is I'm firmly on the side of the Communist Party and of the labor union here. And we'll see what we can do with Alfonso. After a series of intense meetings with Yara and Pascal, I decided to take some much needed time to recharge. Definitely. I checked in with Lucien and Peter back at the capital. They were working hard to unite democratically leaning reformers for the crucial task of drafting a new constitution. Yeah, we've got quite a few projects cooking right now. I still wish I could hear back from Lilias. Meanwhile, Gus Manger had invited me to visit the Gasom headquarters in Narbel. It was situated in Ornobel, a neighborhood in the city's outskirts. Next to it was the Daminoy Gas Reserve, a prominent natural gas source consisting of 4 large fields. As our motorcade made its way through the Ornobel district, I noticed the neighborhood's state of disrepair. The roads were bumpy and marked by potholes, while the buildings surrounding us appeared run down and dilapidated. The community had apparently endured a prolonged period of neglect. Yeah, while Alfonso and his cronies were lining their pockets. We came to a halt at the entrance gates of the facility. A sizable mural depicting the Gasom logo had been painted on a nearby wall. Adjacent to the mural, a group of individuals wearing blue work vests had assembled, holding what looked like protest signs. Serge skillfully parked the car, bringing our journey to a smooth and elegant conclusion. Gus greeted us warmly as we stepped out of the vehicle. Good day, President Rain. Welcome to Gasom's Narbel operations. I trust Minister Walder and Benny Wall didn't overwhelm you with their demands. Okay, let's see. Okay, so... I mean, Gus is still my Minister for Rural Development. I am going to have to work with him, so I don't want to confront him too badly. But I'm also not going to take any... I'm not going to go in for his attempts at... or his relatively obvious attempts of what he's doing. It's a relief to have a break from all that, even just for a little while. No, I'm not having a break. I have to talk to you and Alfonso. I'd rather talk to Ciara, to be honest. I would be surprised if there are no demands or expectations here today. Yeah, stop bullshitting me. Good to see you, Gus. I wanted to talk to you about what we can do to help the development here. That's actually a really smart way of putting it, because that sentence has barbs. That's like, look around you. You're the Minister for Rural Development, even though you probably believe that you're the Minister for increasing the money of capitalist fat cats. But look around. What can we do? Actually, I like that. Let's put him on the spot a little bit. Let's see if he sees the barb in that statement. Perfect. That's exactly what I hope to accomplish during today's discussion. My job is to improve the conditions of places like these. Okay? Mr. President, I've been brainstorming a little something. The Gruni Rural Investment Plan. I reckon it's got the potential to breathe new life into our rural communities in Gruni. Why are we improving Gruni? Gruni has no problems. Somebody paid you well, didn't they? We could consider a few things. For starters, we could give the farming businesses a boost with some subsidies, or we could steer towards modernizing existing farms with machinery and tech. So let me get this straight. We looked at the absolute state of this province. We're standing in front of the main head office of the people partially responsible for the state of this place. And you're telling me that we should subsidize wine farmers. Yeah. Oh, here's another thought. We could pour resources into developing crop breeds tailor-made for Gruni conditions. If it works out, we could roll this out across Swordland. Right, because crop breeds tailor-made for Gruni conditions will grow extremely well in other provinces in Swordland. He kept talking as he guided me into the Gussum building. Mr. President, I get the appeal of that green bill that's been making the rounds in the assembly. But I'm telling you, if we put the brakes on that and funnel those funds into the Gruni plan instead, we could make some real strides without spooking any potential investors. Okay. So clearly he's deflecting. He's probably got some side hustle where he either owns shares of some wine, some vineyard over there, or some of his friends have promised him, I don't know, free wine tasting and other amenities if he can manage to funnel some government money into their pockets. But I have my doubts, Gus, but I'll give your plan some thought. Sure, Mr. President, doubts are part of the game. I trust you'll play the cards right for all of Swordland. And he bucks off again, yeah. But we obviously, this is pretty obvious what's going on. Our talk was interrupted by a noise coming from outside the building. We looked at the nearest window. A sleek helicopter was cutting through the sky, sunlight glinting off its polished surface as it descended towards us. On it was our next appointment, Ewald Alfonso. Is that a helicopter or just his ego with rotor blades? I love it. I know, obviously, that Gus and Alfonso are best buddies, and there's all kinds of things going on. So I do have to admit, I'm sorely tempted. An extravagant show of wealth, isn't it? Hardly seems necessary. What kind of display plays well to investors, but terribly to farmers watching on state TV. So how snarky do we want to get, basically, is the question. From quiet admiration to ego with rotor blades is the scale. Okay. Kind of display plays well to investors, but terribly to farmers watching on state TV. Exactly. The optics matter. We just have to decide who we're trying to impress. Oh, God. Good grief. I honestly... Sorry. I'm trying to collect myself here. I'm honestly on the fence at this point if he's actually trying and he thinks he's doing the right thing and he's just like a kid in the candy shop. Or because he is as slippery as an eel. He will like whatever you say, he will immediately try to weasel in to weasel that in some way that it matches his worldview. That all we need to do is make things look the right way. No, Gus, it's about the people. How did this guy end up in my ministry again? I have no idea. Spectacle aside, before we sit down with him, there's one more assembly matter I want to raise. All right, bring it on. The workers' rights bill. Aha. Look, I'm all for giving hard-working folks what they deserve, which in your opinion is nothing. But isn't it a bit hasty to push this while we're still stuck in a recession? That is actually, it is an interesting question. But why are we in a recession? Well, for a couple of reasons, presumably. Your best buddy Alfonso has driven the economy in the ground by pillaging it and extracting the wealth of the country on the back of the sordid workers to line their own pockets. We are looking at probably a demand problem at this point. And this is kind of where your argument sort of falls apart. Who is going to buy our products? I mean, we can't export everything. Someone has to buy things. Swordland is a reasonably large population, and the people are struggling to bring food to the table to the point that they prefer to take up arms and fight in the streets because there's no jobs and there's no income. So the first thing we have to fix is the situation of the people on the ground, because businesses have to sell things to somebody. I know this is a foreign concept to you, but somebody actually has to buy the products that businesses produce. The way I see it, short-term wins might end up costing us big time in the long run. Heard a worker from Estord on the radio, said he's got rights on paper but nothing in his fridge. Yeah, that sort of sums it up, right? It's people are dying in mines. People aren't getting enough to eat. People have no perspective. This is the root. This is one of the root causes. Isn't it high time we put people before profits? Yeah. Look, also the bill is. I don't know exactly what's in it yet, but we're talking workers' rights here. And this isn't necessarily just financial compensation, but this is things like the right to not die in a mining disaster. The right to, I'm assuming there might be something like minimum wages in there as well, but the right not to be fired if you insist on if you want to join a labor union. The right not to be harassed at work if you speak up against malpractice. There might be a fair few things in here which aren't actually economically impactful the way you're thinking it. What you're thinking is, oh, it's something that gives workers things, so it must be bad for the capitalists, ergo it's bad for the economy. So it's that trickle-down economic thinking that got us where we are in the first place. Workers' rights aren't up for negotiation, no matter the economic climate, yes. Because we're not just talking about compensation here. We're talking about people literally, these are our people. Respect your stance, but let's not forget the potential fallout. There's got to be a way to improve workers' rights without rocking the economic boat. I mean, to be fair here to him, he does have a point in that we need to package this properly as well. But even wealthy capitalists are still sordid citizens. Okay, so we can go pretty strong. People don't care how long-term strategy when their kids are hungry. We fix this for them or we lose them. I think let's think of the option that signals progress without rattling the markets. We need both stability and reform. So strong labor protections, foundation of lasting growth, secure workers, a productive one. If we overload businesses now, they're sure. So this is the pro-business. This is the pro-business argument. This is the principled argument. Strong labor protections are the foundation of lasting growth, and it is. This is the sort of on the fence argument. Let's try to have our cake and eat it. And this is the strong pro-worker argument. Like, screw all this. Kids are starving. We are doing something. So I'm sort of in between the two of them. I don't know how far I can trust Gus to come along for the ride with this kind of direction. But he might be, I'm thinking, he could be an important, given his connections, he could be an important factor to convince if we're coming on too strong with him as well, we might lose him on this too. So he could be an important key of bringing the capitalists along for the ride and saying, look, we're not going to bring out the guillotines, right? We're trying to make the country better. You've had some fat years where you were allowed to pillage, plunder, and pirate your black hearts out, but that stops now. So we're going to do something like wealth tax, increased taxes, workers' rights. You can still have successful businesses here, but the people come first. So for that, we might actually be able to use his connections. So I'm more leaning towards this one because this is sort of the selling point for both sides, right? Let's go with that. Strong labor protections are a foundation of lasting growth. A secure worker is a productive one. Fair enough, but let's roll it out in stages. Rushing it could backfire. One thing you gotta admire is his ability to immediately change his tune depending on what the person he's talking to says. Please come this way. Ewald, we're on first names, and I have some exciting news to share with you. Yeah, I know where your loyalties lie. I have faith that you won't leave us hanging. So how much money would you like the government to spend on you? I'm here because something needs to be done about Narbel's living standards. The fact that you managed to get Rizia entangled in this is surprising. What was the deal with Rizia here? There was I think there was like an proposed investment or something. So I could call him out on that, but I think I'd like to put my position out here that I'm here because something needs to be done about Narbel's living standards. Of course. That's going to play a big role in our discussion. Mm-hmm. We do have to be delicate with Gasum, though. A corporation this big is like a house of cards. No, Gus, it isn't. Actually, the inverse. A corporation this big is like a house of cards if it has been thoroughly mismanaged and hollowed out and is built on exploitation. If it was run properly, then it would be, given the absolute need and demand for energy, both domestic and internationally, it would be a profitable, very, very stable business that was very difficult to rattle. So if you're claiming that it's a house of cards, that actually says a lot more about the corporation, but not in the way you want it to be. You make one wrong move and the whole thing falls apart. Yeah, screw that. Sometimes we must destroy our rotten foundations to build something better. Support the business, support the economy. No. Does the average working class man in Narbel? Look, this has nothing to do with the average working class man in Narbel. If Gazprom is a house of cards, then the nationalization is even more urgent than I previously thought. Sometimes we must destroy our rotten foundations to build something better. Isn't that paraphrasing Maleniev? Keep in mind, we only have a single term to work with. And none of the average citizens here care about anything other than direct support. He pushed open a door. Yeah. Yes, I am paraphrasing Maleniev, Gus. I said Anton's going to be a little bit more outspoken about this now. But my point stands, right? Maleniev or not. If Gazprom, doesn't matter what your political orientation is, if a big corporation like that is that brittle in a market that is that profitable, then we're looking at some very severe amounts of mismanagement, and we are looking at just a company that needs to be overhauled. And I am happy to nationalize that if it comes to it. We pushed open a door. We walked down yet another hallway, seemingly in the direction we just come from. Like a maze, isn't it? That's Kinali architecture for you. What is Kinali? Republic of Kinal, strategically situated country, minor segment extending into southeast Marcopa. Okay, unique for being the only member of the ATO. Religious landscape was profoundly reshaped. Okay, this is all very interesting, but I'm not in understanding. Sounds more like China, really. So I'm assuming some form of Far Eastern architecture. Again, you're really not helping your case here, right? We were walking through broken roads, dilapidated houses, hungry people, and protesting workers. And you're bragging about the marble palace that you built here. But at the same time, the company that built said marble palace and has his president coming down in a shiny new helicopter to show everybody how much he cared and convinced them of the size of his manhood is and the bloody foreign architecture of the place. Read the room, Gus. The hallways were lined with doors. Glass panels in them revealed workers in suits and ties, many of foreign origin, busy in their pristine offices. A stark contrast to the blue-collar workers outside, working with machinery, transportation, and maintenance. Okay. The white-collar seem to be having it good in here, while the majority are working it out in the cold. Yep. I could also ask, why are there so many workers from abroad? Because I see what you're doing here. You're trying to sell out Sworderland's natural resources to foreign investors for your own profits. But anything I say is going to just get Gus to spin it in his own way. So I think I'm going to run home my point here. White collars seem to be having it good in here, while the majority are working out in the cold. The equipment provided is high standard. I've seen it for myself. Besides, there will always be differences between workers. Yeah, because white-collar workers are clearly better people. Here's the elevator. Look over there. Ewald ought to be up there already. There's a separate entrance by the helipad. You two need to get a room, really. We stepped into the elevator. Gus punched a code in, and we began our ascent. Let's do this. The doors opened. Here we are. Ewald, my friend. Honestly, I'm still on the fence if he's actually a lot smarter than he looks, or if he's just such a caricature of a corrupt official, basically. The old Alfonso stood up from his chair. He had on a perfectly tailored suit that he wore as casually as pajamas. Gus, you old devil. Takes one to know one. As promised, I've brought our guest of honor. This meeting, so Gus is currying favor with Alfonso by dragging me into this meeting. So that's how this happened. President Rain, I hope you enjoyed seeing our facilities here. Okay. You know I don't like you. And I know that you know that I don't like you. But let's at least be civil. I'm curious to find out more about where Gussum stands. I could be curt here, and to be honest, what are we going to get out of this? Okay, let's think about this a little. So Alfonso is in this for personal profit, right? He is as corrupt as they come. So he's looking to get some personal benefit out of the whole thing. What it is that he wants, is it just government money that filters through his hierarchy of foreign connections and lines his pocket and the pockets of his cronies? Or does he want something else? Does he want political favor? I don't know yet. But I'm most certainly not going to give him anything. Because screw Alfonso. The same way that he has screwed Sworderland. Do I need to play the same games that I started playing with Tusk, Coronti, and the others, that I'm trying not to give them much? Could we come to any kind of agreement? I believe it's unlikely. Because I don't think he's not going to give the workers anything, unless he gets something out of it. So unless he gets paid off in some way, he's not going to agree to improve the conditions in the place. And honestly, I don't mind. I think it's time that this comes to a head. And if Gazom, if we can renationalize Gazom on the cheap, and his whole operation collapses here, then I'm not particularly opposed to that. So I think I'm going to be more direct with him, and not unfriendly necessarily so, and like not openly hostile, but I'm also not going to try to beat around the bush or dress things up for him. Their facilities appear to be in much better shape than the city around them. You should have seen Narble before Gazom came here. Aha, the jobs it generated have had a lasting positive effect. Sure. So, these people and their spin. This is it's nauseating. It's true. Things here could be a lot worse. Yeah, no, the people have 1 meal a day. They're just barely starving. Please have a seat. Let's talk. We sat down. Some snacks and drinks were served. Multiple Gazom yearly financial reports were scattered on the table between us. President Rain, I am here because we have a great opportunity on our hands, a business arrangement that will benefit Gazom and Swordland alike. Okay, so what is it that you want as a bribe so you can give the workers some breadcrumbs? I also happen to believe that current and former presidents of Swordland should stick together and share our experiences. Not everyone has been in our shoes, you know. I'm not falling for that one. Trying to... and you're completely misreading me here at this point, by the way. This is nothing like meeting someone like Coronti, who is actually dangerous. But let's see. He seems right now not quite on the same level. Presidents sticking together, that's an interesting notion. This is indeed a business arrangement. Let's focus on that. Let's put the past aside. I have a country to run. Okay. I would have really preferred to call him Mr. Alfonso, because he opened up with President Rain. He didn't say, he called me Anton. This is indeed a business arrangement. Let's focus on that. No. Presidents sticking together has an interesting notion. Let's put the past aside, Ewald. I have a country to run. Sentiment I share, President Rain. The welfare of Swordland must always be... Oh, good. I'm going to need a bucket here. That goes on. What a slimy piece of... Good grief. That's the spirit, gentlemen. Swordland is above most else, am I right? As we discuss the future of Swordland, it is paramount that I comprehend your vision. The trajectory you set for this country will inevitably impact not just Gazom, but also Swordland's position on the global stage. You are in no position, my friend. You are a former president. If it's up to me, NIA's Anti-Corruption Commission is going to have you very, very high on the list of people to be investigated and eventually locked up for their crimes, if it comes to that. You are in no position to dictate or to have any input on Swordland's position on the global stage. I confess I've been following the news from the Maroon Palace closely since leaving office. Oh no, oh dear, you've been reading the news. Your decision to deviate from a market economy is, let's say, not what I would have chosen. No, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been. I agree with you so far. And I am puzzled that your administration has so far ignored the wealth of opportunities provided by the West. The wealth of opportunities to line everyone's pockets, is it? Meanwhile, I have not heard any indications of your leanings towards the Kingdom of Rizia's interest in investing in Gazom. Oh yeah, that's what they were up to. Yeah, look, I don't have a direct problem with Rizia. But Let's see what we can reply with. I've yet to receive a comprehensive briefing on the matter. I'd rather not hand over crucial components of our energy industry to foreign entities. While the prospect of collaborating with a wealthy nation like Grisia is not unappealing, I'm suspicious of their underlying intentions. So we could try to learn something here, because he's clearly trying to figure out what's coming. So he doesn't quite. So either he doesn't know. I mean, if he's not utterly stupid, he will have to suspect of where we're heading here. So should we keep him in the dark, or make our position a bit clearer for him? So this would be completely non-committal. I have. I could say that I don't know yet, but that would actually be an admission on my side. I'd rather not hand over crucial components of our energy industry to foreign entities. That would be my actual position. This is framing it a little bit more politely. The prospect of collaborating with a wealthy nation like Grisia is not unappealing. Yeah, I don't want to necessarily collaborate with them on energy infrastructure. Okay, I think I'm going to be somewhat open here with my demands on him. I don't get the feeling that he's necessarily the brightest. And I think beating around the bush too much, like I said earlier, Anton needs to put his millennialist credentials or his communist credentials out here a bit more. I'd rather not hand over crucial components of our energy industry to foreign entities. This isn't quite handing over, though. We are talking about we still got the act in place. Do we? Yeah, I'm looking to effectively nationalize Gazprom. So yeah, I'd rather not hand over crucial components of our energy industry to foreign entities. It's encouraging to hear your concern for Sordland's key industries, Mr. President. That is not what I meant, but okay. Maintaining control of these sectors is indeed crucial, but we must also consider the potential benefits that foreign investment might bring. Your concerns, Mr. President, remind me of a time when I was working with OMEC. I'm actually going to have to be a little careful not to get too sidetracked by Gus's antics here, because I do have to take this somewhat seriously. We were bringing in foreign investments to revitalize the local companies. There were protests, people who were scared of change, who thought we were selling out, but we weathered the backlash, stood by our decisions. Years later, those same people saw the benefits, the jobs we created, the growth we spurred. Change is always met with resistance, but in the end, it's the results that matter. I think still, I don't disagree with Gus, right? It's not that I hate all foreign investment, but there are certain key industries where we need to be somewhat more autark, and energy is one of them. So I'm really careful with that. We didn't. So I can say, nice story, Gus, but that's not just about a company. We're talking about the whole nation. Change may be met with resistance, but it's our job to ensure people are with us on this journey. We can't disregard their concerns. Yeah, we're in here for the people. I completely agree. The people are our greatest asset. Which people depends. But remember, sometimes people don't know the peasants don't know what's good for them. They don't know. They claim that they need food and shelter. That's completely ridiculous. Until they don't know what's best for them until they see it. That's why we're here, to help them see a better future. As Gus finished his point, we suddenly heard a faint wailing of sirens in the distance. He waited for the noise to fade before continuing. Back to the topic at hand. It seems we are at a crossroads with Gazprom. The numbers tell a tale of struggle and potential. No need to sugarcoat it, Gus. Our corporation is teetering on the edge of a cliff. Without significant restructuring, the firm risks plunging into insurmountable debt. So let me guess. You have taken on high-interest loans in order to do share buybacks, management bonuses, and other things, and now you're expecting the government to bail you out. My old friend Ewald reached out for me for assistance. Out of respect for our shared history and my small stake in the company, I couldn't refuse. Oh, good grief, Gus. Yes, you're corrupt. You don't have to brag about it. You keep that to yourself. I've always believed in the power of networking. I'm sure you've heard of Rusty Montoro, chairman and CEO of Rizian Royal Gold. Rusty and I go way back, and he's done quite well for himself. Like I said, Gus may be a clown, but he's a clown with connections. So he might actually be useful. And he seems to be trying really hard by simply, whenever I say something that he doesn't like, ignoring it and diverting the topic to something completely different. Back under Alfonso's government, I was able to broker a deal with King Romus Toras thanks to my connection with Rusty. It was a win for all involved. Okay. I can assist you if you want, can return a favor by improving the situation in the city. So I could go with... I really dislike the whole situation. I am really not a fan of even being here, to be fair. I understand the need for strategic alliances, but let's remember our own interests and values. I can assist you if you can return the favor by improving the situation in the city. So this would basically be the sellout option. That would be to say, if you can get us to improve the situation, we can give you your little benefits. It seems like an impressively powerful alliance you've formed. The kingdom's connection to Rumburg isn't particularly reassuring either. So he's clumsy at it, but he's obviously trying to somewhat mediate the whole situation as well. So he's trying to get a deal for everyone out of this, but in a very clumsy way. So if I push him too hard, I'm undermining his position actually with Alfonso as well. I think I'm gonna be somewhat neutral here. I understand the needs for strategic alliances, but let's remember our own interests and values. Absolutely, we're in this for Swordland first and foremost, but remember, in the world of international business, alliances are tools, not ties that bind us. Thanks to Gus's Rizian connections, investors from the kingdom are now interested in Gasom, a development that could steer us clear of the looming crisis. We've got an amazing opportunity here. The demand for gas is steadily increasing from both international partners and the Swedish state. All we have to do is ensure a consistent supply. Tell me again how you run the company into the ground if the markets are so great. And the trouble is that right now some of our fields are operating at only half of their capacity due to resource limitations. Okay, but we have significant potential for expansion, including 2 new fields that haven't even been tapped. With the right amount of investment, we can expand resource extraction, effectively fulfill rising demand, and ensure long-term stability and profitability. Okay, so limitation of what resources? So you've mismanaged the company. You've built shiny offices and given management bonuses while starving the workers and neglecting maintenance and investment in your resource extraction business. And now you need somebody to drag your behind out of the fire effectively. That's what you're saying here. But that requires us to be willing to take risks and weather the storm. Now that's a legacy worth striving for, wouldn't you agree? Okay. Let's see. So he is... okay, look, here's the problem I'm having. I don't mind I think investing in Gasom would be great. Given that we remove the problems that have driven Gasom into the ground in the first place, and that is the corruption. I've seen enough corporate bailouts and handouts to know that it's always the big businesses that benefit while the common people are left to suffer. Look, he is having some degree of leverage here as well. because obviously he could just simply say, okay, he could go out to the strikers and say, look, we wanted investment. The government is stonewalling us. We're going to have to let half the employees go. Is that something? It's happening the wrong way around. I would have loved to come up with plans how to nationalize Gazprom first, to ensure that if he is playing that card, I actually have a way of countering that. So again, I would have really loved to have the anti-corruption task force in place before this whole setup. But here we are. So no good griping about it. What he's effectively asking, I think, is us to, either open up Riesian investment or us to directly invest in his company. He will skim off the cream and then enrich himself, which I really hate. At the same time, it would give us effectively at least sort of some stake in Gazprom. And I'm not happy with doing that sort of free market nationalization. Ideally, this would be done legally. So the way I would have liked to do this, let me put it that way. The way I would have liked to do this, and I don't think the game's letting me, the way I would have liked to do this is to immediately kick off the corruption investigations, uncover these networks and who's been neglecting things, why things are bad, then effectively put pretty much upper management on trial, and just legally declare that Gazprom is that the company Gazprom has been mismanaged, but it is an essential company for the functioning of the state, and as such will be by presidential decree nationalized. We bring in new development, we bring in new management, and we're effectively disowning, or we might either pay compensation to shareholders if they wish, or we say, look, to shareholders behind the scenes, if you've been whoever has been involved in criminal activity has been hurting you as well, and we are going to get the company back on track, which is going to improve its share value as a state-owned company with the corrupt mismanagement removed. Unfortunately, we're doing this backwards. So it now looks like he's asking me to invest government money into his operations, which I can. And then hopefully I can still get to the anti-corruption situation afterwards. So I might have to play along with him actually now, because I don't have the necessary leverage yet that I would have if NIA's anti-corruption commission would be in place at this point in time. So I could ask him about the available resources. What potential return if we invest in these new areas? What if the investment doesn't pay off as expected? Energy prices are notoriously fickle. Energy markets can be manipulated quite easily. Absolutely no connection to today's to current events, and there are foreign players in there who obviously want have their own lines. But at the same time, we are looking at something. It's not about profitability here, right? We are not investing in Gazprom in order to make money. Government control over Gazprom in order to get the company back on track as part of the essential infrastructure is what we're after. This would effectively be the pass that lays the ball in front of his foot to say, oh, yes, absolutely, we'd be firing half the people unless the government gives us money. And this would be effectively saying the truth out loud that everybody knows, that this money isn't going to isn't completely going into Gazprom's operations, but you're going to skim the government money off that for your own personal gain. This is a very frustrating position to be in. Yeah, we're somewhat past the hour mark, but I don't want to leave the episode right in the middle of this conversation and leave you all hanging. So we're gonna follow through with that. I'm intrigued by the untapped fields, potential return if we invest in these new areas. Yeah, I think give me some business insights here, because shutting him down. Is it going to help if I shut him down? Not going to help anyone right now because I don't have the necessary tools to deal with him. Okay, I'm intrigued by the untapped fields. Proper investment development, we project extremely high returns in the first 5 years alone. The sound of sirens briefly distracted us. Through the window, we saw police cars driving down the street adjacent to the Gazprom zone. What's going on out there? We redirected our attention to the meeting. Do we have a security situation out there? There were protesters out, but I mean the whole situation is politically unstable at this point. Ewald looked at me. I appreciate your visit today, and despite our differences, your willingness to meet with me is noted. Okay. Throughout my journey, I've held faith in collaborating with individuals who genuinely share my vision. The presence of the right allies amplifies our potential. Your attitude and choices as president has prompted me to reflect on the significant gap that exists between us. Regrettably, this divide could pose challenges to the feasibility of any prospective business collaboration. Okay, now you're shutting me down? Okay. Okay, so he's effectively telling me to sort of. I don't even see where I would have completely shut him down here. I am all right. If you wanna take the gloves off, then let's. My priority certainly isn't Gus. Okay. We each stay true to our principles. So that would be the polite way of saying, okay, we do our own thing. Your approach to business doesn't align with my vision for Swordland. Yeah, perhaps it's for the best, Mr. Alfonso. We each have our roles to play for Swordland. Let us each do what we believe is right. Hold on, gentlemen. I understand that tensions are high right now, but I have faith that we can find a solution that benefits everyone. Oh, I see what game we're playing. I was kind of confused at first why Alfonso suddenly shut the door and everything. So we're playing the good cop, bad cop game, right? So you two set that up. He shuts the door, and then you come out with a compromise. However, for that to happen, I need to know, Mr. President, do you trust my judgment? Not in the slightest. Okay. Whew. Asking that question alone in front of Alfonso is really telling. Definitely not the first one. I'm willing to... You started this. You want to do this out in the open. Our judgment has been questionable at times, but I'm willing to hear you out. The state stands above you all. Nothing may happen today or next week, but the future is never certain. Ooh, haha. That is the threat, isn't it? That is the... guys, different... I'm actually liking that. You seem to have I mean, this is true, right? He has a fundamental bias in this. He's not on my side. He's clearly on Alfonso's side. And this is premeditated. I'm almost certain that the two of them have organized that. So we're starting out with pleasantries. Alfonso pretends that he wants some clarification on things. Doesn't matter what I'm even saying. And then he just shuts the door. And then Gus comes in as the savior. Oh, hold on. Maybe we can find a compromise. Yeah, that's premeditated. So he's on Alfonso's side, not on my side. And I don't respect him in the slightest. The states, I'm thinking of putting law down here. The state stands above you all. Nothing may happen today or next week, but the future is never certain. Now, let's take the gloves off. I have served Swordland no, you haven't. It's the people who voted for me, just like they did for you. Yeah, but what you did was sell out Swordland for your personal gain. We're all civil servants here. Thank you for making the trip and setting aside the time. I think it's time to call Mr. Montoro, Gus. Our allies in the Golden Kingdom will step in where Swordland couldn't. Before we conclude, Ewald, I've set aside time during this meeting for President Rain to discuss concerns about Gassum's treatment of workers and its repercussions on Narbel. The Labour Union and the Communist Party of Swordland have garnered significant support, capitalizing on the anxieties of the many Gassum workers concerned about their job security. Alfonso nodded and looked at me. Let's see what we can. I don't think I'm going to get anything out of Gassum. We need to address these concerns. They could jeopardize the administration. No, not necessarily. Our duty is to listen and take action. That's the mandate granted to us by the public. While sometimes people may not always recognize what's in their best interests. Yeah, there you go again. Do you have a proposal in mind, Mr. President? The workers of Gassum need better housing, access to healthcare, and opportunities for education. As the leading industry here, Gassum can't ignore this responsibility. It's not Gassum's responsibility to build houses and give access to healthcare. That's the state's responsibility. It's Gassum's responsibility to properly pay people. And that has nothing to do with charities. Wages of Gassum blue-collar workers need to be increased. They are the backbone of your operations. While I understand your concerns, we must consider the financial implications. I cannot really promise anything. We must indeed be mindful of the economic realities. We are striving to make decisions that are financially sound and sustainable. It's a fine line between fulfilling our... I honestly can't listen to Gus any longer. We have to ensure that we don't jeopardize the economic stability, but we also can't ignore the plight of Narbel. As I mentioned before, we are always shut up. The meeting was interrupted. The quiet murmur of a conversation from outside the room grew louder, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps. A member of the private security team, we've got private security running your show as well, entered the room, his face taut with urgency. Okay, what's going on outside? He approached Alfonso and leaned in to whisper something in his ear. Ewald nodded solemnly, his gaze meeting mine with a serious intensity. Gentlemen, it seems we have an unexpected situation outside. Some protesters from the labor union have blocked the main vehicular exits. Oh dear, they've blocked your exits. How terrible. And you came in by helicopter. Horton and Stahler seem to be leading the group. It would be difficult to leave the way we came without causing trouble. Yeah, for you. Well, that's a pickle. What's our move, Ewald? I cannot express my absolute disgust and disdain about this person at this point. I have a helicopter ready. We can leave undetected and avoid the chaos and potential danger. I think you can leave in helicopter. I'm going to go talk to the people, especially Horton and Stahler. What you want to do is a completely... I don't... There's no we here. There's me. You people have a problem. I don't. Unless, of course, they're that angry. But I would like to talk to the people because I am the president here. I'm going to go and head the crowd and face the crowd. That's your prerogative, Mr. President. Following the violent events of late, I heavily recommend against facing any crowd. I advise you to leave via helicopter just in case. I can stay back and update the crowd on the discussions today. Serge rushed in. Mr. President, I have discussed the situation with the Presidential Guard and the police security. They are advising us not to go out the way we came in. Okay, so things are getting violent, and we're not in a talking mood outside. More police are on the way. You must make a decision. Everyone waited. The tense silence of the room stood in stark contrast to the buzz of the ever-growing crowd outside. And it seems the decision will be made in the next episode. So, what have we achieved? Not an awful lot, to be honest. I have found new depth of my absolute disgust with Gus and Alfonso. I am still firm in my plans of nationalizing Gazom. They are clearly looking to get Rizia to buy in. And it looks like they were trying to blackmail me into funneling more government money into their operations. But nope, we're not going that way apparently. And I would like, well, first we gotta see how we can get out of here. But I would like very much for NIA to start an anti-corruption commission sooner rather than later, and see if we can create, maybe get Lucien started in creating an executive order to nationalize Gazom. For that, we could even, I think we could, what we can even do is we can reduce the Energy Protection Act even further and get foreign investments further out of the whole thing, because it seems like foreign investors are running the place anyway. And this was absolutely gross. And look, get me out back with the poor, please. These people are insufferable.